In here, since it's kind of windy outside and has gotten a whole lot colder, I'm kind of wussing out and working inside for a little bit. This is the meter that's going out there. It may not look big, but it's awfully tall. And the disconnect was about as tall as well. And code says the meter has to be 6 feet or less. Like the tallest I could mount it was 6 feet. I was saying meter box, super tall, disconnect, super tall, to where when the meter was mounted where it needed to be, plus a little bit of space to get a connection between the two boxes, the disconnect was going to end up being about 8 inches, maybe a foot, if I really stuck them close together off the ground, which I didn't see any code saying that was not allowed, but snow and water and all kinds of things make that seem like a really stupid idea. So the other piece that working on, I have to back up to show the size of that panel. I didn't need a 42 space panel, and I read that it was 5 foot, but somehow seeing it in person is a whole nother level of how big this thing is. Anywho, if you've never played with 480 stuff, it's all pieces, parts that you get to put together. This is Eaton's pieces and parts. Eaton can, super cheap. The gut, actually you buy separate and bolt into it, so you can get different kind of guts for the same can. And it came with all those block off pieces over there and no main breaker. So got a main breaker kit that I'm actually reading directions on, making sure I don't goof up sticking it in there, because the other fun part of 480 is all these parts are really, really expensive. So trying to make sure I don't goof that up. So I'm going to kind of get this mocked together and pull this out once I get an idea of what I need for it to go on the wall over there, and then try to decide where my big giant 3-inch LB should come through the can, to where I have some slack on the wires to actually get them to shove into these little holes. It sucks because the meter has these nice removable connector jobbers where you can just lay the connector in there, stick your tightener back on, and tighten it down. Not so much on the main. So, anywho, I think that's about it. Alright, main breaker is all mounted in, torqued down. My neutral bus is just kind of hanging out. Just put 2 nuts in it loose, same with the ground bus, just to see kind of how it's all going to fit and sit in there. My next decision, however you word it, is figuring out how it's going to mount to my wall over there, and also how I want to bring the wires in. I was contemplating doing something up there, and 2 downsides of that is so this little guy will be flush with the can, but it gives me that much room to try to talk those into those big large wires over there into making it into the main breaker. And I don't, it could probably be done, but I think I'd be making myself more work. And if this is actually going to mount to a girt over there, that would be punching a hole through it, which I don't like as well. So I'm thinking that I'll end up trying to do somewhere over here, maybe kind of halfway between the neutral. Anyway, somewhere on this side, this tray, to where I can turn and go down to the neutral and have this area in here to loop to talk those into going into the main breaker there. I'm nearly positive that's what I'm going to do. Like I said, the downside is everything costs so much. The bright side is the can itself was super cheap. I might have already mentioned that, but so I think that's next, is mounting the can to the wall, because I'm not going to do too much costly damage, and then I can actually start making some headway connecting the LB outside, so I can put my box adapter in here, and then essentially this side would be done, and I got to go figure out how to get my meter up, which we'll talk about later. Excuse me, meter base. But because the entrances for it are offset, and I have a post and a top entrance, or a pole, I guess, it's gonna suck because I have to mount it off to the side. I talked to the cool Idaho Power guy that's, I guess what does his signature say? Design consultant or something like that. He says, yep, no biggie. If it mounts off center, it mounts off center, as long as it's secure. So picked up some longer lag bolts, and I've seen other people, the whole YouTube university, that just say longer lag bolts, and yeah, they'll show, but as long as the box is sturdy, then you're all good. So anywho, focus on one thing, I suppose, and I'm gonna pull my guts out. Might leave the bars till they get in my way, and see if I can get the box mounted on the wall. I need to read real quick and try to remember how high that has to be. I'm betting that it's probably around the 6 foot mark, similar to the meter base, but I'll read so I don't have to move it, because that would be not awesome. Anywho, that's next. Got my panel down. I'm trusting all my marks from before. Center punched where I gotta drill a hole through so I can get that shaft through, and pop a hole in the back with my cool hydraulic knockout punch. And then I'll put it back up there and mark the 10 and hope I can make a straight hole between those two. Need to figure out if I can find a hole saw or something to get through the tin without making a mess. I think I mentioned Brandy talked me into buying a decent tool versus a hole saw, because I hate hole saws and make a big mess with them, and or break the center bit. So the bummer though, I thought maybe one of these bits would fit. Obviously this guy is made to fit, oh, you can't see. Obviously this knockout is made to fit that. I've got a 3 1/2 that is not quite big enough. Oh, I thought it wasn't quite big enough. That would be awesome if I was just wrong. Yeah, for the actual piece. Not quite. I mean, that is really close. But close don't cut it. So we'll see what kind of hole saw I have, if any. It's 10, so honestly, cutting that and then filing it, except that it's 10 and it's super flexible. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Figure it out when we get there. But I'll just be happy to get this done, and if I can get the hole on the outside done, that would be huge. And I can't remember if I showed getting this side plumbed in. Everything's all glued. Dug that out. That was a pain in the butt because it all froze up solid. Should have done that when I first dug the trench, but lesson learned. And it looks like I'm really ridiculously short, but it's because the angle. So when it's in there and pointing straight up, it goes back towards the back of my trench and fits. If I would have made that longer, I wouldn't have been able to straighten it out. So the pipe in the bottom of the trench there will have to be bowed up just a touch, but it'll be plenty deep still. I'm not worried about it. And we'll come up to right in there with the hole and that LB that I just showed you, and be able to pull wire, I think. I hope, I should say. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to pull it this weekend. And then start running conduit inside, which would be absolutely awesome. So I'll bring you back and show you when I get something closer. Probably when I'm trying to figure out how in the world to punch through the tin. I'm pretty sure that's where we're gonna mount the guy, because a lot of things accidentally work out pretty well. The center of the main breaker, I think it's under 6.5. They say like 4 foot to 6.5, I think is what the code said, if my memory serves. The clearance around a box is supposed to be 6.5 or the height of the box. So in this case, we're going with the height of the box because I'm about, well, I think it was 6 foot 8 inch, somewhere in there. Anyway, a little higher than need be, but I don't think they care where the box is so much as the breakers, any of them, in which case the main is the one I'm concerned with, and I'm well under where that should be. And I guess even like, as silly as it is, visually it looks okay. That's about eyeball height. And then clearance wise, I'm pretty sure they say 30 inches like centered around the box, which I've got plenty. And if it's, I read it wrong and it's 30 off the side, I'm good if I go to the side wall. If I go to the post, I'm not, but I don't know how they'd care too much about that. Because technically in front of the box, I'm even with the front of the post. What else? Oh, the conduit, the riser out back. If I come, so these ribs are every that often. If I put the LB up next to that rib over there, the far side of it's there, and what was that? Oh, that's where I need to put my can, this guy, in order to get the box adapter kind of centered between the edge of my guts and the edge of the can. It's going to be really tight. I'm trying to center that in there, and then it looks like I'll be drilling the hole through the siding somewhere in there. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and anchor this in there. One other happy accident is all these pass-through bolts. The bottoms are underneath the girt. The only ones that are not are the top dudes. And I don't know that anybody would care. There's a little bit of me that thinks I'll probably tap on those a little bit to try to mark them on that 2x6 and countersink them just a tiny bit so that the box or the can lays flush against the girts, just to make it a little bit extra pretty. And then if I run conduits out the top, my next girt's within 3 feet, so that's perfect. The only potential annoyance might be conduits out the side. I don't have a whole lot of room for a whole bunch. The funny part of saying that is I think I have, what did I say? 3 circuits currently planned. 2 going down to a compressor and lathe down in front of the car, and then 1 for lights. And then later on, as time and money and all that kind of stuff allows, there'll be 1 more big boy to run a step-down transformer from 480 down to 220, 240, however you word it or want to say it. So I believe I might let that sit in my brain for a little bit because it's nearly lunchtime, and go eat lunch and make sure that's what I want to do. Maybe do some more reading to make sure I'm not missing anything, because it would suck to have really the only super downside would be having a hole in the siding that I'd have to move. Well, and then the wire length could bite me in the butt if that's not where it needs to be. Oh, and then I don't remember if you saw or not, but the supply house gave me a box that was just laying around. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't intentional or anything, but the side was, one was wowied in and one was out. So I braced correctly on the metal and got those pretty much perfectly straight. Only catch is those are a little wonky, but get something a touch stronger than my finger to pry them out, and those will be fine. Looks like that guy's a little bowed, but a little adjusting. So I think I'm gonna go eat lunch, make sure that's what I want to do, and hopefully get this mounted semi-quickly, which will be super exciting. And then poking a hole in the can, use that to line up on the tin, and then make the PVC outside match that, will be awesome. As I'm sitting here thinking, one massive downside to having my conduit that high from the floor is outside it's even worse, so feeding that in to pull it is going to be annoying, but what do you do? It'll be fine. So hopefully have that in here shortly. Alright, panel is up and almost bolted to the wall. The bolts, the lag bolts that I got yesterday, I actually think I forgot about getting some for the panel. I thought I got ones that were too long, but I got 8 of them, and I'm pretty sure I was thinking that was going to be to hold my conduit on the pole outside with those straps. So I had a couple 5/16 by 1 inch lag bolts and a little quarter guy. I'll pick up some probably some 3/8 because those are big holes, and try to give it as much chance as it can of holding on there. But anyway, that's all decided, and I like where it's at. The 30-inch clearance widthwise, it sounds like it's just a window of 30 inches, so that should be fine. My heights are fine. I double checked at lunch. It's all nice and level, and I don't remember if I said, but it's kind of on hold. I can either use a hole saw, which I tend to make a mess out of, or punch a little hole and use a conduit, or not a conduit, a knockout hole punch. And I'm gonna go ahead and order a set of those so I don't make a big stinking mess. And odds are good I'll find some sort of other uses for it. I guess it'll go clear through 10 gauge metal. So hopefully those will come in handy in some other uses. But I think that's about it for in here. If I can't get the meter base up while it's warm, there's plenty of conduit that I can run in here. I can put the outlets in down there and start my lighting, because bending a whole crap ton of 1/2-inch conduit that I haven't done in a really long time stands a chance of taking a while. And I kind of forgot, I gotta put some boards up that will hold the conduit. I could technically bend around the posts and go back into that, I guess, that girt up there. I think I'd rather do what I did for the kind of the header of the garage doors and put boards flush on this side. For sure across the garage doors I'm going to do that, but I'm undecided on here. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to think if it would be in the way of anything. I don't think it would, and it would save me. I guess it's only 290s. Anywho, lots of decisions. We'll figure those out, and I could get my switch boxes up and all that kind of stuff. Actually, it'd be kind of entertaining to see some of that come together. Figured I should probably video my very first knockout on that big hole. So, little pumpy jobber. Pump's kind of basic and simple. Super slick. Can see my shoot all the way till it pops out. Oh, and I probably missed half of that, but that is pretty stinking cool. Let's see if I can actually get the little piece of metal back out. There you go. Pretty stinking cool. The hole that's left is not all jagged and sharp. I mean, I'm sure if you tried you could cut yourself, but I'm super excited by that. And that's where I was hoping. That's where the edge of my rail for the thing, the interior panel bits goes, bolts up here. So it has a standoff of a 1/4 inch nut. So I'm pretty sure it would clear that, but I think I'm within that too by just getting inside that edge. So I believe that's everything there. I'll screw it back up and see if I can mark the wall in such a manner as to make a straight line. Theoretically, that box adapter will get me to the 10, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah. So maybe that'll give me the straight line. Okay, I'll show you that in a minute. So that worked like a champ. Little bushing, touching the whole way around. Scribble a circle. Obviously it's not the right size, but that's a minor detail that we can fix. So pull the can back down and figure out if I want to punch a hole tonight, because it's getting late and it gets cold really stinking quick once the sun goes down. I hate to punch a hole in it and not fill it. I guess the worst case is some little birds come in, but we'll see if we can even find something to punch a hole, really. So that'll be the next quest. So I thought I'd video this for, I don't know why. That's not awesome. Other side, same thing. So that'll be fun to see when it goes back together if the lid actually screws down tight. But I guess worst case, I'll probably just stick some bigger screws in it. Just a little obnoxious that if they strip the screws out, either somebody else playing with it before or from the factory, I don't know. I think I might have a winner here. I think I showed the 3.5 inch die is just the tiniest bit short, meaning not big enough, I mean. You can see better by trying to fit the outer piece on. It's close, but no cigar. I happen to have this guy. I think this is what I used a couple times to drill holes in truck beds for BMW turnover balls, but anywho, it's the tiniest bit too big, but I think I'd rather have that. Like it just catches your fingers on the outsides. I think I'd rather have a touch too big than too small and having to try to figure out how to wallow it out with a grinder or some silliness. And I think I tried this guy, but it's a whole other half-inch bigger, so odds are really good that it's really too big. But since we're sitting here playing, might as well make sure. Because again, me and hole saws just make a mess. Oh yeah, that'd be a mess. I guess it'd give me lots of adjustment. So, anywho, and I honestly don't know if my cheap Chinese knockout would work on the tin or if it'd just bend it and make a big stinking mess. So, I guess I didn't show you my beginning dartboard. But I will try to find the center of that, punch a hole with the pilot hole, and get going through it. It'll be interesting to see. I was hoping to stay just a touch inside of that, and I think I'm gonna end up pretty much spot on, just judging by that. So, a lot of words, but I'm gonna try to drill that and see what we get. Just a quick update. Me and the drill, are getting along better than normal. We're to the point where it catches and tries to rip your arm off, and I can't get that last little bit cut through. We'll see if I end up using a skinny wheel on the grinder or not, but I'll keep playing around a little bit. And I'm not sure if it's actually cutting, but turning it in reverse seems to smooth it out for like a half a turn in forward. So anyway, so far so good. Not too bad. I got everything but the dimpled part that's towards the outside, and you can see where it's not quite even, but cut it with the skinny wheel. I'll show you outside. It looks really nice. Well, I think. Nice, pretty little hole. So I think I'm gonna try to hurry get the can up, and I might poke the LB in the hole just to see. Probably not gonna try to cut that piece of PVC tonight. So, if you can see, the LB is in the outside and perfectly aligned, which is flippin' awesome. Pretty sure if I try to stick that in there, in the LB, I'll push the LB out of the hole and drop in my ditch out there. So, probably not gonna do that. I should be able to get some goop, also known as sealant, caulk or something, around the inside a little bit, but for sure the outside, and that will be nice. I'm a little something. I can't decide if I care that it doesn't seal completely up against the building. I don't think I care. I was wondering about it, that basically, realistically, I might need like a 7/16 piece of OSB across the girts inside, and then it would sit perfectly against the building. There's a little bit of me that thinks I like it not sitting that way. I don't have any intelligent reason why that is. Yeah, so that is what it is. The nice thing, if it did, is that would fit nice and flush. And then there's a little bit of me that wonders about trimming just a tiny bit of that off. Not how the proper world would like it done, no doubt. I will contemplate, and we'll see what I end up with. So, just from there to there, and glue my hub inside, and we'll be pulling wires. I'm hoping, watching how hard other people have put wire in about the same amount as we're doing in a 3-inch conduit, and it looked like it went pretty easy. So one, makes me glad I got 3-inch, and two, wondering hopefully if I can just push it all versus having to run my rope and pull. But and then not to mention getting the rope through there. Either vacuum or something, I think, should do it. I remember working with an electrician and they'd blow little things that fill up with air and seal against the conduit through the lines. That's all for tonight.